Welcome to this Arnall-Culliford knitwear tutorial on reading your knitting when you're working diagonal lace patterns. This forms part of our Little Lessons series of video tutorials filmed during lockdown in one take. This here is a swatch of the Tumbling Block Lace pattern, which is a scarf pattern in the MDK Field Guide No. 15 called Open. The designs are by the wonderful Jeanette Sloan, and this lace pattern features yarn overs and decreases both on right side and wrong side rows. One of the great things about lace is that you quite often get these very strong diagonal lines created by stacked decreases and yarn overs, and they can make a really striking effect on the finished fabric. It's really a good idea to do a little bit of practice at reading your knitting so that you can ensure that you're getting your diagonal lines lined up really without too much stress and difficulty. When you read your knitting, you can see what the next stitch should be, and it takes a whole load of pain out of the process. So in order to get limbered up for the Tumbling Blocks lace pattern, I'd recommend working on some straightforward diagonals just to get a feel for how they work. So there is a section of the pattern that uses these very strong diagonal lines that are consisting of a yarn over followed by an SSK on the right side rows with 3 knit stitches in between, and then when you work back on the wrong side row you've got an Ssp decrease followed by a yarn over, and it's the way that these are stacked up that gives these really nice strong diagonal lines. So I've got a swatch here of this section that's in progress, and hopefully you can immediately see the relationship between the knitting and the chart. So here is our row of SSK decreases, and here are our yarn over holes. Here are our yarn over holes, and the row of decreases is there. So I'm up here, I've already done the first 2 rows of this diagonal up here, and so I'm looking now to work along row 7, and I'm going to show you how that should appear on your needles as you go along. And it's really worth casting on for a swatch. It doesn't matter particularly where you put your first yarn over SSK, it's all about reading to stack the next one on top of it so that you get those lovely diagonal lines. So having a close look at our knitting, here is our new row of diagonals here. There are the decreases, and there's 1 yarn over, and the next one is this stitch here on the needles. That was the yarn over from the row before. So we're going to work along like this. We're on the right side row, so we're knitting. And what we're going to do is we're going to knit until we come to that yarn over stitch, and we're going to knit that yarn over stitch. So that'll be the last bit of plain that we do. And it's usually quite obvious to spot because that stitch doesn't have anything at the bottom of it, it's just a big hole. So that's the yarn over from the previous row, and we knit that. We now know that we want our yarn over hole so that it stacks above. So the yarn's at the back because we've been knitting, we bring it to the front between the needle tips and over the top of the needle. And now here is our decrease row, and that's worked as an SSK. So we slip one knitwise, we slip the next one purlwise, and then we put the needle through the front of those, and that allows us to work the 2 together through the back loop. And if we look at the work, we can see that our decrease is stacked nicely on top of the others. So now we're going to knit along again until we reach the next yarn over from the previous row, and we're going to knit it. So here we are, we're going to knit that yarn over from the previous row. We're now going to add the yarn over for this row, bring the yarn to the front between the needle tips and over the top of the needle. And now this stitch is our Ssp from the last row, it's our decrease. You can see the lovely clear line of decreases there working across the fabric. So we slip the first one knitwise and then the next one purlwise. You can slip the second one knitwise or purlwise. You put your left needle back into the front of those 2 stitches, and that allows you to work the 2 together through the back loops. It's always worth just having a look and making sure that you've got your yarn over on the needles there before the decrease. You can check back to the one before as well. So that one there is our decrease stitch, and this is the yarn over. You can spot the yarn over because it sits diagonally across the needles when you stretch them out. And there's the next yarn over and the decrease. And we can keep going on our way. Here we go along, and we can see there's the decrease, there's the yarn over before it. So we knit the yarn over from the last row. There's our decrease stitch, so we're doing a yarn over again, and an SSK. Work those 2 together, and again just looking to check our decrease line is going all correctly, leaning to the left. Our yarn over's on the needles as it should be, and we carry on working. And it's really just worth spending a little bit of time doing this, getting this muscle memory in your fingers so that you're used to reading your knitting, looking at what should be coming, so that you can then keep those diagonals going in the right direction without having to look carefully at the chart for every single stitch. Okay, so we come to the end of the row. Let's just check we're happy with that. Yep, all of our yarn overs and decreases are lining up correctly. So we're now going to turn over and do the wrong side row. Now obviously with the decrease line lying in that direction, when we turn over, that's our decrease stitch. When we turn over, you can see it's the decrease stitch because it's got the double 2 loops at the base of it. 2 loops at the base of the stitch, and to make it continue to slant in this direction, it's going to be that stitch and the one before it that are worked together, and then the yarn over will come afterwards. So let's work along until we're in the right position for that. Just done a couple of stitches of garter stitch at the edge of this swatch to help it lie flat. So now we're purling. Let's just look for where that decrease was. There's the yarn over, sits diagonally, so that's the decrease. So we need to stop so that we can make the stitch before it and the decrease be our SSP. So I've just got to do one more purl. And now I'm working an SSP decrease. So you slip both stitches I do beg your pardon. This is an SSP decrease. So you slip both stitches knitwise, because you want them twisted round. You then return both of the slip stitches to the left needle, and now you're going to purl them together through the back loops. So you've got to scoop around and come through both stitches from the back. It's almost like you're putting the 2 needle tips up next to each other and purl them together through the back loops. That's our decrease done. Check on the front that it's going in a straight line. Yep, that's all leaning in the right direction. And then to do our yarn over between the SSP and the next purl stitch, the yarn's at the front, it comes over the top of the needle, we're always wrapping it in the same direction, and we come back to the front between the needle tips, and then we can purl that yarn over from the previous row, purl along. Let's just have a look, where's the next bit? So there's the yarn over from the previous row, there's the SSK that we did, so that stitch and the one before it are going to be our SSP, so I need to purl one more. And now I'm going to slip, slip, return the 2 stitches to the left needle, and now we bring the right needle tip up from behind to purl the 2 together through the back loop. There's our decrease. Check it on the front, it's all going in that nice diagonal. And then we work our yarn over, taking it over the needle top and then down and back between the needle tips, and on we purl. 1, 2, I've got mine set up for 3 purl stitches in between, but we just check each time. There's our decrease, there's the one that I'm going to join it with, there's the yarn over. So we can work our Ssp decrease, slipping them both knitwise, returning them to the left needle without twisting them back, and then working the purl 2 together through the back loop to join them. And then we're going to do our yarn over, and on we go. And you can just keep working on a swatch until you feel really confident that you know how those diagonals line up. You know what they feel like when you're knitting them, you know how to look for the stitches, and you're really being guided by your knitting. And it just helps you to feel confident then working from the chart, that you're not going to miss anything. Obviously in some sections of the chart you will just be working the diagonals as we are in this swatch, and some sections of the chart you'll be working diagonals in both directions. But if you spent a little time getting used to reading your knitting, then you should be able to see how your diagonal lines are lining up, and they will help you work the more complex parts of the pattern as well, because you'll be good at working the knit 2 together yarn over diagonals which go in this direction. You'll have practiced the SSK yarn overs which go in the opposite direction, and you'll just feel that much more confident in putting them together. So this video has walked you through how to work that left leaning diagonals in your lace knitting. We've also got a video that shows you how to work the right leaning knit 2 together yarn over sections, so do check that out. I'll pop a link here on the screen so that you can go and have a look at that video too. If you'd like to find out more about any of our techniques teaching books that we publish, then do click the link up top here to visit our website, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel with the round button down at the bottom here, and then you'll be sure to know when we release our next video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye bye.